You have probably felt it more than once, the strange, heavy sensation that your life is standing still. Everything around you seems to move. People grow, achieve things, start businesses, learn new skills, fall in love, reinvent themselves, yet you remain in the same place, watching time slip through your fingers. It's not that you lack dreams. You have them, and they are real. But between you and the life you want, there is something invisible, something that makes you hesitate, postpone, avoid, and wait for a better moment that never comes. Today, we will explore this invisible barrier. We will understand why resistance appears, why the brain creates avoidance, why procrastination is not a character flaw, but a biological mechanism, how fear shapes your decisions without you realizing it, and how you can start taking action without waiting for motivation. This video is not about abstract inspiration. It is about real psychological mechanisms that control your behavior and how to take back that control. Let's begin with the first truth. Your brain is not built for progress. It is built for survival. Modern life demands growth, ambition, discipline, and movement toward the unknown. But your brain, especially the older, deeper parts of it, are wired for one priority: safety. Safety means predictability, routine, stability, and familiarity. This is why even when you consciously want change, another part of you resists it. Change always feels dangerous to the subconscious mind. The life you have right now, even if it is unsatisfying, is still familiar. The brain interprets the familiar as safe, and safety is prioritized over improvement. This is the root of resistance. You tell yourself that you want to start something new, a project, a habit, a business, a move, a new chapter of life. But immediately, resistance appears in the form of fatigue, lack of clarity, self-doubt, distraction, or sudden urgent tasks that appear from nowhere. It seems like you are sabotaging yourself, but in reality, your brain is trying to protect you from the discomfort of the unknown. Avoidance is just an extension of resistance. When something feels overwhelming or uncertain, your brain pushes you toward anything that gives quick relief. That relief often comes from scrolling, entertainment, eating, talking, fantasizing, planning instead of doing, and imagining instead of acting. Avoidance is not laziness. It is a self-defense mechanism. It activates when the brain feels threatened by effort, pressure, or change. To understand this more clearly, we need to talk about the biology of procrastination. Procrastination is not about poor time management. It is an emotional regulation problem. When your brain anticipates discomfort, effort, potential failure, or the possibility of being judged, it activates the amygdala, the brain's fear center. The amygdala sends a signal: this task is unsafe. At the same time, the prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for planning, discipline, and long-term thinking, becomes weaker under emotional stress. This is why you can intellectually understand what you need to do, yet still fail to do it. The emotional brain overpowers the rational brain. And since the emotional brain seeks relief, it pushes you toward a quick dopamine source. This is how you end up scrolling for 30 minutes, then an hour, then half a day, without understanding how it happened. Every time you postpone something important, the brain receives a reward: relief. That relief becomes a habit. You teach your brain that avoiding difficult tasks feels good. The more repetition, the stronger the habit. This is why breaking the cycle is so hard. You are not fighting laziness. You are fighting a deeply conditioned reward loop. Now, let's talk about fear, the silent architect of stagnation. Fear is not always loud. It often hides beneath logical excuses. When you say, "I'm not ready yet. I need to think more. Right now is not the ideal moment. I'll start when I feel motivated." These sentences are usually masked for fear. Fear of failure is obvious, but there are other fears. Fear of success, fear of judgment from others, fear of responsibility, fear of disappointment, fear of discovering your limits, fear that you may give everything you have and still fail. These fears live deeply in the subconscious, shaping your decisions without appearing on the surface. This is why people can spend years stuck at the same point. Not because they lack talent or intelligence, but because fear silently governs them. Another type of fear is the fear of identity shift. When you start something new, you are forced to change who you are. And the brain perceives identity changes as a threat, even positive ones. This is why many people postpone improving their health, finances, relationships, or skills. Changing your life requires becoming someone else, someone stronger, more disciplined, more confident, more responsible. And transformation always brings discomfort. So what can we do? How do we move forward when our own brain resists every attempt? How do we take action without motivation? The answer begins with understanding one crucial idea. You cannot think your way into action, but you can act your way into clarity. People wait for motivation as if it is a spark that must appear before the fire. But motivation almost never comes first. Motivation follows action. When you start, even if you don't want to, your brain receives a new message. This task is safe. Each repetition strengthens this new neural pathway. Eventually, the fear decreases, resistance weakens, and the task becomes easier. This means that action must come before readiness. You do not need to feel confident to begin. Confidence appears only after repeated action. You do not need to feel motivated to act. Discipline is the ability to act independently of motivation. You do not need perfect conditions. Conditions become perfect when you start working with what you have. The most practical way to break through stagnation is to create micro-action steps. When a task feels overwhelming, the amygdala triggers avoidance. But when a task feels small and simple, the emotional brain stays calm. Instead of planning a 1-hour workout, start with 5 minutes. Instead of writing a whole chapter, write 1 paragraph. Instead of cleaning the whole room, clean 1 shelf. Action creates momentum, and momentum removes fear. Another powerful method is reducing friction. The harder it is to start something, the less likely you will do it. If you want to read more, place the book on your bed. If you want to work out, prepare your clothes the night before. If you want to study, keep your notebook open on your desk. Removing friction removes excuses. Next, you must learn to separate your identity from your emotions. You are not your fear. You are not your avoidance. You are not your procrastination. These are emotional reactions, not personality traits. When you observe them without judging yourself, you begin to regain control. One more essential principle: do not wait for your future self to save you. People often think, tomorrow I will feel different. Tomorrow I'll be stronger. But tomorrow you will be the same unless you act today. The only version of you that can change your life is the one that exists right now. Let's talk about momentum. When you take consistent actions, even tiny ones, the brain begins to shift. The prefrontal cortex strengthens, and the emotional brain quiets down. You begin to feel the first signs of internal power, not emotional motivation, but a calm, rational strength. Your self-image changes. I'm someone who does things. I am someone who moves forward. With each action, the identity becomes stronger. This is how discipline is built. Identity, action, reinforcement, identity. But there is one more important element we must address: self-honesty. People often claim they don't know what to do next. But in most cases, they do know. They are simply afraid to admit it because knowing implies responsibility. You know what habits you need. You know what goals you avoid. You know which decisions you postpone. Progress begins the moment you stop lying to yourself. Another reason your life is not moving forward is because your attention is scattered. Every notification, every scroll, every random piece of content pulls your mind in different directions. The brain cannot build momentum when constantly interrupted. If you want your life to move, you must protect your attention as if it is your most valuable resource, because it is. Finally, let's speak about the feeling of stuckness itself. Feeling stuck does not mean you are failing. It means you are standing at the edge of your current identity, preparing to cross into a new one. Stuckness is the tension before transformation. It is a signal that you are ready to grow but afraid to step forward. So let's summarize the path forward. Accept that resistance is normal. It is biology, not weakness. Understand that avoidance is protection, not laziness. See fear clearly. It loses power when exposed. Stop waiting for motivation. Act first, and motivation will follow. Start small. Micro actions break emotional resistance. Reduce friction. Make the right actions easier. Create momentum. Identity grows from repeated behavior. Protect your attention. Without focus, progress is impossible. Be brutally honest with yourself. Clarity is the beginning of transformation. And finally, your life moves the moment you move. Your brain will not suddenly give you permission to change. The perfect moment will not appear. Courage is choosing action in the presence of fear, not the absence of it. If you take one small step today, not tomorrow, not later, but today, you will break the cycle that has held you for years. And that single step will become the foundation of a new life. A life that is not frozen. A life that is not waiting. A life that is moving forward because you decided to move. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and comment to join the journey through history. See you in the next video.